What does Bebbanburg Castle, Alfred the Great, and Uhtred all have in common? How many Uthreds ruled this castle in the past, and why the fascination with the names? Don't swipe or click away, because here is the last kingdom, Uhtred's upbringing. When we talk about Uhtred, there's a lot of people we could be referring to, and all of them were actually kings that ruled with the same castle. That's why you constantly see Uhtred the Last Kingdom say, "I am Uhtred, son of Uhtred." In fact, did you know that the show's main character was actually based on a real-life person? That's right, his name was Uhtred the Bold, and he is a very important historical figure. He was the Ealdorman, basically the same as Earl, of all the Northumbria, and he ruled from 1006 to 1016. But unlike our Uhtred, his father was named Waltheof I, and he was Ealdorman of Bebbanburg. This is where the famous Bebbanburg Castle comes into the picture. But enough about his father. Let's get back to Uhtred the Bold. There is very little known about Uhtred's childhood and upbringing, but we do know that he married the daughter of Bishop Alden of Durham. Because of this, he received huge plots of lands that was previously in possession of the bishop. We meant to say the church. Like that's any better. Now, during the Scottish invasion in 1006, Uhtred's father was too old to fight. Even though he was Ealdorman, his son took his place on the battlefield and he defeated the Scots, and then offered the woman a cow for all the Scots' heads they would wash out and put on pikes on the road to Durham. Yeah, we're talking about the Middle Ages.
A half-naked lord, you might catch a chill.
This will not take long.
This kind of gore was commonplace. Now, because he was just been named Ealdorman to Bebbanburg by King Uhtred II, even though his dad was still alive, when the Ealdorman of York was killed as well, Uhtred became the ruler of both northern and southern Northumbria. At this point, his wife served no purpose to him, and he dismissed her. Again, remember that this is medieval times. He married the daughter of Styr, who was a very influential man in York. So this was a political marriage of sorts. Now, in 1013, King Sweyn of Denmark invaded England, and Uhtred had no other choice but to bend the knee. His army was too vast, and by fighting him, he would have only ended with his army dead and his castle destroyed. This tactical move forced King Uhtred to flee as the Danish ruler was now taking over. The kingdom lasted for only 5 weeks, as Sweyn got sick and died. Upon his return, King Uhtred gave his daughter to Uhtred. In 1016, he went campaigning, and at this point, the son of the Danish king that died, Sinud, invaded the lands. Realizing that he was just as powerful, if not more powerful than his father, Uhtred recognized him as King of England. He was then summoned to meet with the king, but on his way there, he was murdered alongside all 40 of his men. The man to do it was Thorbrain the Old, but he was instructed to do so by Sinud himself. After his death, Uhtred and Thorbrain the Old became the beginning of the blood feud that boiled the Anglo-Danish rulers of the land. Their sons and grandsons were all taken by the fury of this blood feud, and it lasted for many decades. Before we talk about Uhtred from the show, don't forget to smash that like button. It keeps the almighty YouTube algorithm happy, and you keep getting these videos for free. Now, even though the show was inspired by Uhtred the Bold, they tell a slightly different story, one that's fit for the TV screen. The creators of the show used the Saxon stories, a series of novels about 9th and 10th century Britain, as inspiration and the base for their show. These were written by Bernard Cornwell, and they're centered around Uhtred himself, but it's not the same Uhtred we've grown accustomed to. Oh no, this is a different Uhtred, one that's from Northumbria, but later captured and adopted by the Danes. The story goes something like this. Lord Uhtred had 3 wives and a lot of children from each of them. His first marriage gave him a healthy boy by the name of Uhtred in the year 850. However, shortly after giving birth to their first child, she fell ill and passed away. Not being the one to sit and wait around, Ealdorman Uhtred remarried. This time, it was to a Mercian woman from a noble family. This marriage also produced a son, and his name was Osbert in 857. Because the birth was so problematic, the woman died while giving birth to him. Again, not wanting to sulk, Lord Uhtred remarried for the 3rd time. Now, here's the interesting part. Even though his marriage to Gaitha lasted long, none of their children ever survived past their first year. So now, Uhtred had only 2 sons, Uhtred the older and Osbert the younger. During an attack on the Danes, the older son that bore his father's name died on the battlefield. Since it was customary for their oldest son to wear their father's name, when Uhtred died, his brother Osbert became the only child and therefore the older. He took on his father's name, and this is where the story begins. Osbert, aka Uhtred from the Last Kingdom, was the son of Edelman Uhtred of Bebbanburg. Their kingdom was surrounded by the kingdoms of Mercia, East Anglia, Wessex, Scotland, and the Danes. And guess what his father did? Lord Uhtred raised Uhtred to hate all of their enemies and want to exact their revenge on them. Interestingly enough, he was never taught the art of sword fighting while he was a child. Why? Because his stepmother didn't want him to become a warrior, but instead she wanted her stepson to be a priest when he grew up. But the surrounding kingdoms didn't want peace like his mother. In 866, the Danish army began their attacks on Northumbria. They captured a strategic stronghold called Jórvík, and in an attempt to reclaim it, Lord Uhtred lost his life. His eldest son Uhtred was also killed by Earl Ragnar, so now the only remaining heir was Osbert. This is where things get interesting. You see, Osbert was very brave from a young age. Even when he was just 9 or 10 years old, when the Danes came, he attacked their warlord with fury, but the attack was futile. This is when Earl Ragnar noticed just how courageous and strong the boy is. He took Osbert, now Uhtred, to live with the Danes. He realized that living with the Danes and their Danish gods was much more enjoyable. He was free and wasn't tied down by religion and the priests like in Bebbanburg. As the years went by, Uhtred's love for Ragnar grew. They were like real father and son, and he even became a brother to Ragnar's son, Ragnar, Jórvík, and Tyra, Ragnar's only daughter. But Uhtred's entire life was turned upside down when Ragnar got into a feud with a man named Kjartan. Ragnar's daughter Tyra and this man's son had an incident, and now these two were sworn enemies. One night, Uhtred went out to make charcoal for their weapons while everyone else was sleeping. At this time, Kjartan led a war wand, came close to their hall, and set it on fire. Ragnar, his wife along with their entire family, had been burned alive while they were still asleep. Thinking that Uhtred was inside too, Kjartan didn't even think twice about looking for the boy. Marked by one of the most traumatic events in his life, Uhtred couldn't bear Ragnar's death, so he went to the south in Mercia, hoping to find a family amongst the Saxons. His travels brought him to Wessex, the last of the unconquered kingdoms in England, and he pledged his service to Alfred. Because Wessex was under the constant attack from the Danes, Uhtred began leading defenses and starting killing the Danes. His childhood hatred for the people was reignited, and this is where we get the Uhtred we know and love. On a related note, what's your favorite fight scene with Uhtred? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.